welcome to the SImple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables, and whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a café au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the 74th episode of the SImple Sophisticate. Today we are going to talk about dating. So we are in the realm of relationships. I've received a handful of emails over the past few months asking me to dive into episodes about this particular topic, and maybe not specifically this topic, but in the area of dating. And so what I've created is actually a first date cheat sheet or checklist, depending on how you want to look at it. And it really comes from a compilation of all my experiences, plus having done some research from various other experts in the field and people that been there, done that, successfully so. Now, I am in the middle of experimenting in the whole dating situation as a whole. And believe me, I will be reporting as soon as I find having a consensus on what is successful, what isn't successful, how to go about it. And I think it's always an ongoing process. It's always evolving. There's always different avenues. And since we're all different people, there's not one concrete way, but there are some definite do's and don'ts we can maybe listen to and be aware of. The internet, as you know, is full of do's and don'ts. Speaking of do's and don'ts, when it comes to first dates. After all, there are so many unknowns because potentially both parties on this first date are complete unknowns to each other, which ratchets up the uncertainty level even higher. And while each first date experience will be different, the one variable you have control of is you. So today's cheat sheet, as I'm calling it, is really this way to calm yourself down, give yourself a game plan so that if there is the opportunity to find someone worth getting to know, and everyone's worth getting to know, but investing in a relationship, opening up, becoming intimate and vulnerable with, then this is a great way to start before you invest too much. Now, as I look back on the many different first dates I've had, the one thing I've learned is to stop worrying about impressing and start seeing it more as a fact-finding mission. Now, don't misunderstand. I am not suggesting that the first date be interrogation 101, where you're constantly throwing back questions and they're answering and it feels like they're in an interview. No. Absolutely not. The goal, however, is to see if there is any compatibility between you two. Sure, you both said yes to the first date, which means there was mutual curiosity, but is there potential for enduring connection? That is the guiding premise of today's episode. Before I dive into these 8 ways to ensure a successful first date, no matter what the outcome is, because it depends on what you find, right? Today's Petit Plaisir is a holiday film that I'm excited to tell you about, that I think you will enjoy. So do stay tuned for that at the end of today's episode. And on a podcast note, just a heads up, there is one more new episode for 2015. We have today's, and then we'll have next Monday's, the 21st of December. And then we do take a week off the last week of December, as we've been doing on the blog as well since the blog began. So just be aware of that. But the good news is I will have a list of the top episodes of the SImple Sophisticate available for you that last week, so that if you're perhaps a new listener, or you maybe missed a few, or you want to know what people really gravitated towards, re-listened, and shared with their friends on Facebook or their family, whatnot, I'm going to make a list of the top podcasts since the podcast began, and I'll post that on the 28th of December. So don't worry. And then we'll start fresh, brand new in January. The first Monday of January will be a brand new episode. All right, but let's get to today's episode's topic. First dates. How can we make sure that it is a successful one? Well, number one is to schedule when you're available. That first date, you're trying to figure out when you should meet, what you should do. I highly recommend setting those supposed rules aside. They should be tossed. Now, I'm speaking as someone in their 30s. Schedule your date for tomorrow, if that works for you. Schedule it for next week, if that works for you. Schedule it for tonight. It doesn't matter. The key is that you are scheduling it when you are available based on all of your other responsibilities, hobbies, and interests. Immediately, your date gets to know what you enjoy doing, what your career demands are, and any other different glimpses that come into play when you're looking at your planner to see when you can do this. It's not to say that the date isn't important, but technically this is someone you don't know if it's worth investing in. Yes, you're going to figure out a time, and that's obviously something you want to convey. But you have a life, and it's important that you respect what you've already invested in as well. So number 1 is to schedule the date when you're truly available. Number 2 is don't let the physical attraction be the only selling point. Recently, Psychology Today reported that basing our potential partners on how physically attractive they are did not ensure a relationship that would deepen or endure over time. In fact, once the cute factor wore off, the glaring differences and incompatibilities were reason enough to lose interest entirely if they were there. Admittedly, there must be some level of attraction, but the key is to ask yourself, why am I interested in this person? What non-physical qualities do I respect or find attractive? Are they thoughtful, generous, intelligent, humorous, disciplined, determined, or any other number of reasons to be interested in them? After all, someone with whom you wish to be in a relationship with must be more than eye candy. Absolutely must be more than eye candy. So number 1 is don't let the physical attraction be the only selling point. And I think that gets easier as we get older. Some figure it out earlier than others. Some don't. But it really is this situation where you're checking your emotions. Why am I attracted? Really get to know yourself. Feel what you're going to feel, but don't make rash decisions if it's only based on his stunning blue eyes and his tall, muscular physique. Just enjoy the view and move on. All right. Number 3 is express appreciation. Finding the right balance between nonchalance and adulation is imperative. But when in doubt, say thank you for opening the door, paying for the meal, opening your car door, or any action in which your comfort or enjoyment was taken into consideration. Those little thank yous make a difference. And it's almost when you don't say something that warrants a thank you on either side, it could feel like an echo chamber. So it's almost like the absence is more powerful than the presence of it. We maybe assume we're going to hear a thank you. And when we do, we may not really think about it, but it's when we don't hear that thank you that we remember it. So when in doubt, say thank you for those gestures or those ways in which our date makes us feel a little bit more comfortable, includes us, or makes the whole experience a little more enjoyable, no matter how small. Number 4, if you want a second date, just be honest. Just be honest. Most likely you will have a vibe to gauge their interest. Now, I know some people's gauges are off and not everyone picks up on the clues and the hints and just simple niceties that really aren't trying to lead into a second date. They're just trying to be genteel or polite. But listen to the various comments that are being said. Pay attention to the body language. How did the date go? Was it quick, finished, then you're done? Or did you extend it and go to another shop for coffee or another shop for a dessert or keep walking afterwards for quite some time when you didn't have to, when you absolutely didn't have to? Before the date concludes, make it known. If you're interested in another date, say so. I'd like to do this again, period. No more. Just say it once. Make it short, make it sweet. Don't go on and on. At this point, the tennis match, yes, does kind of begin. It's a reciprocation, and you want to hear something similar back. And then there obviously has to be follow-up, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But gauge as you're going along how it's going. And then be honest. What do you have to lose? And if you don't want a second date, don't say you do. Just say I had a nice time and mention something that came up in conversation, wishing them luck on a presentation tomorrow or have fun at your trip that I heard you're talking about. Don't make the games apparent. Eliminate the games entirely. I think that's one of the things I am appreciating more about dating in my 30s than in my 20s. There's no point to the games. We're busy. We want honesty, directness, and that's so appreciated. The fewer games are played and the directness occurs much more often. Now, that's only if the person is in their 30s or older. Not always the case when someone's in their 20s, but everyone's different. Everyone's different. Keep that in mind. Also, there is no reason to wait 3 days or whatever the set number of days the rules require to either text or call and set up the next date if both parties are interested. Texting the next day, for example, to say briefly that you had a nice time shows interest and intention, no matter when the next date may be. So number 4 is if you want a second date, be honest. All right, I'm going to take a quick 1-minute intermission and I will see you on the other side. Welcome back. Let's get into the final 4 ways to ensure that you will have a great first date. Number 1 is to engage in equal inquiry. What am I talking about? You may be asking. While both sexes receive advice of letting the other party talk while you listen, it is crucial that the sharing be evenly distributed. After all, you're looking for a partner that wants to be with you because of who you are, what you bring to the table. So make sure you offer a glimpse of who you are and make sure the banter is back and forth, a tennis match. That also lets you know if the person is truly listening and is curious. Offer the same in exchange. So number 5 is to engage in equal inquiry. Number 6, offer a trailer, not the entire viewing of the movie. What do I mean by this? Well, the gift of a first date is that the slate is clean. No mistakes, no oopses, no gaffes, no faux pas. But it also does not mean that the person is your trusted confidant. Introduce yourself. Don't expose yourself. Mystery is attractive initially. Maintained mystery, keeping up the walls after much time together and investment has passed, is a totally different story. But initially, and that's exactly what the first date is, aims to offer a glimpse of who you are and what excites you about life. So number 6 is to offer a trailer, not the entire movie. Number 7, authenticity invites authenticity. The best way to get to know someone as they truly are is to be yourself. Being vulnerable creates a safe place for the other person to feel that they too can open up as well. Now, not everyone will take this. They will not step forward when you step forward. They will not engage. But on the first date, if you want all the compatibility meters to be read clearly and accurately, you must show the truth of who you are. And remember, you're not showing everything, but what it is you are talking about, what it is you are showing is truly who you are, is honest. And that is key if it's what you seek as well from the person you're getting to know. So number 7 is authenticity invites authenticity. And last but not least, number 8 is let go of assumptions. Since a first date is typically a few short hours, if that, the conversation may cover a lot of ground without going too deep, or you may touch on 1 or 2 topics and discuss and get to know that person for only that one dimension, for that single dimension. Due to this, while we should all pay attention to red flags, absolutely, that's a whole nother episode we'll definitely do in the future, Don't jump to conclusions that were shown because of assumptions based on other similar scenarios that did not involve this person whatsoever. Give the person a chance to reveal themselves, and this takes time. After all, there are many stereotypes and ignorant assumptions that are made because the person doesn't have the experience of knowing someone like you. Your background, your experiences assisted tremendously in helping you to arrive where you are in your life today. The person you are on a date with can't possibly know all of those twists and turns that it took for you to get to where you are in one date. Therefore, have patience in getting to know them as you would hope they would do with you. So number 8 is let go of assumptions. By no means when I say that do I mean, and I spoke briefly about that with the red flags, should you ignore things that tickle your curiosity or pique your, you raise an eyebrow as you're listening, you're like, what? Catalog those initially, absolutely. And perhaps you won't even have to worry about them down the road, or perhaps they'll start building up and you'll be like, oh, yikes. Do that diligence. But for the first date, be aware of assumptions that can be made without an actual basis in fact. Just be aware. As Steve Martin's character in It's Complicated states over his croque monsieur with Meryl Streep, dating is exhausting. As we are trying to be cognizant of our presentation, trying to be our best selves, trying to be our authentic selves, emotionally putting ourselves out there, each of these elements alone is taxing and demanding, let alone all of them at once, which is often what happens on that first date. Most importantly, be kind to yourself. Whether the first date leads to a second date and beyond, or even if it leads to a second date that reiterates your concerns from the first and everything ends there, at least you gave it a shot and broadened your perspective of who lives in this big, amazing world. Dating allows us to assess ourselves, where we are in our lives, and what kind of partner we are capable of being at that particular point. But we mustn't become too self-critical, as it sometimes can easily be done. Few people will mesh with us if we are being ourselves, truly being ourselves, because the person who does eventually reveal themselves to be compatible will understand our interests, laugh when we laugh, appreciate our trajectory and how we have landed where we are in our lives today. And that won't be everyone we meet, even if initially we think they might. This is why we go on the first date. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Catalog this first date checklist or cheat sheet. It's up to you. Refer to it on that next attempt because gosh darn it, you got to keep doing them if it is something that is of importance to you for romance. But maybe you're not in that place to go dating, but maybe you know someone who is. Pass this along to them. For all today's show notes, visit the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast74. And I will see you in just a moment with a holiday film you won't want to miss. I'll see you in a moment. This week's Petit Plaisir is a holiday film that just came out mid-November of this year, and it's called Love the Coopers. And I mentioned it on This and That a few weeks ago, but I hadn't seen it yet. Well, this weekend I had the opportunity to go watch it. Now, part of the premise many people aren't aware of is that Diane Keaton and John Goodman, who play the Coopers, the patriarch and the matriarch of the film, have been married for 40 years. And I'm not giving anything away when I say they are seriously contemplating, maybe have already decided that they're going to get a divorce. And so the whole film is this idea of watching each of the different family members making their way to the Christmas Eve dinner table, and this being the last, only beknownst to John Goodman's character and Diane Keaton's character, that it is the last Christmas that they are going to be together. But the question is, will that really be the case? Ta-ta-ta. It is a holiday film after all. And there are some poignant lessons throughout. There are a lot of typical stereotyping, and playfully so, of different political parties and ageism and all sorts of different things, which many people may have hoped for or many people maybe did not expect. Marissa Tomei is also in this film, who plays Diane Keaton's sister, who is single, and she has an intriguing encounter with a police officer. Then you also have the young daughter in her late 20s, early 30s, who is bound and determined to impress her parents, but at the same time not fall prey to what she thinks they want her to do. And this is played by Olivia Wilde. Alan Arkin plays the grandfather or father to Diane Keaton's character, and he plays a pivotal aha role towards the end. It is certainly a holiday film that will end with a smile on your face. If you're a dog lover, you will especially appreciate the ending as well. Steve Martin is the voice of the voiceover throughout the film, and it definitely offers food for thought. Here is the trailer.
The holiday season.
Oh, yes!
It's that magical time when everyone comes together to give thanks. That it only happens once a year. This is Charlotte Cooper.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
She has one simple holiday wish.
This is the only time of the year when we're all together. I want everyone to have the memory of a perfect Christmas. Next up.
To see the one, the only Santa! Yay! And Santa's army of helpers.
Really?
Her daughter Eleanor is looking for the perfect guy.
Every time I go home, I'm told it is so okay that I'm not in a relationship. I know you don't know me, but be my boyfriend for one night.
Oh, no way.
You would make my parents so happy. All we'd have to figure out is how long we've been together and what your name is.
Her sister Emma is looking for the perfect gift.
This is all a misunderstanding.
How'd the jewels get in your mouth?
I thought it was a lozenge.
And her son Hank is celebrating the joys of single parenthood.
Listen, Madison's been doing this weird thing. If you could not laugh, that would be great. Grandma and Grandpa are here. Can you say hi?
Hi, Madison.
You are such a jerk.
Time for comfort and joy. It's Christmas, as if you can schedule happiness.
No matter what happens, we are family.
Here, here.
Nice and easy does it, right, sweetheart?
Mom, Dad, this is Joe.
We're engaged.
This calls for a toast.
I'm an alcoholic. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Kind of kidder.
Yeah, just can't help it.
Aw, try.
Will the grandparents of the lost child in aisle 7 please come up and claim her?
You are such a jerk.
As you can see, this is a film with all sorts of dimensions and relationships and personalities. While it will not receive 5 stars from the critics, it's not receiving 4 stars even from some people. It still offers a fantastic lesson that will make you think about how much control we hand away or give away when it comes to happiness and making it work with those that we may have frustrations with from time to time, more often than not. It's a delightful film, and I do hope you enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each Monday's podcast where I'll recommend a book, a film, a recipe, or from time to time introduce you to an expert who offers insight into how to live simply, luxuriously, anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, stop by the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, or pick up the book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonjour!